Okay, so we're looking at breeding another fish today. Today, you can see it right here, we're looking at how to breed the Neolamprologus Brichardi, the fairy cichlid. What's the secrets to breeding the fairy cichlid? And how do I do it? Let's find out. So, the secret to breeding these guys, they're not that hard. They're Tanganyikan, so you want a higher pH. Temperature, you want 77, 75, upper 70s basically. And they're a rock dweller. They breed in the crevices of rocks, so you just want piles of rocks here or there. The type of rock, it really honestly doesn't matter. You can have, like this one here is like old coral, heavy in like the calcium and stuff that helps with the pH being up. You can have that. Some of these others are like slate. I've got some, these are kind of a sandstone. The type of rock really doesn't matter. A lot of these websites and books and stuff will say, oh, you can only use this type of rock with this type of fish, or you can't use this type of rock in the tank, or it doesn't really matter. As long as you've got a clean rock that's not going to leach out chemicals or something like that, it'll be fine in the tank. And these guys, wherever he is, these guys, they don't really care. What they're looking for is, like, as you can see there, like little caves that you make for them, little crevices between the rocks that they can go feel comfortable and hide. I'll turn this around here and show you some of the other secrets that I use to breeding these guys. So I breed these guys in a 55-gallon tank. You can breed them in, you know, a 40-gallon, maybe even down to maybe a 29-gallon, but really a 55, you know, 40-gallon and up, I would say, is probably the best. They need some room. They need their rocks. They don't necessarily do so well with a heavily planted tank, because you can see here how they dig. But I've got a few I'm trying to get them to go. I've put some shells in there to help with their the pH, the calcium, stuff like that. It doesn't help a whole lot, but they're in there. I had them from the shell dwellers, and they were damaged, so I actually broke them up a little bit so that, you know, we wouldn't have the trouble of something getting in them and getting stuck. But I've got some shells in there for that. I let algae, like, I clean the algae on most of it, but I let the algae grow in patches here in the back. Algae on that. That gives small micro foods for the babies to eat. Got rock overhangs and crevices and stuff for them to get in. I use a sand substrate. It's not as important, but they do like to move it around and dig them. If you can see through that algae patch there, dig them little crevices and little patches to nestle down in. But if you feed them good, you keep your water clean and warm, that higher pH there, and give them the rocks, you'll wind up with some fry. Now, typically the Brichardi here, they will help each other raise the fry, and you can have multiple generations living in the same tank. And I don't know if we'll be able to see, like there you can see a younger one, a couple younger ones with a larger one. So you can keep different ages living together, and they typically won't bother each other. Adding a new one in could be an issue because they establish their colony, and kind of like stranger danger. They get a new fish coming in that nobody knows. There could be some hostilities there. But then you've got your fry, and you can feed them baby brine shrimp, small frozen foods, even like crushed flake. Sometimes they'll take that, and before you know it, you'll have a tank full of Brichardi, and you'll have a whole colony, each having their own little areas and breeding, and you get to share them out with your friends and stuff. So the Neolamprologus Brichardi, they like the hard alkaline water. pH of upper 7s, like a 7-8 to an 8.0, even a 9.0 is great for them. They like the rocky caves and crevices. They do form monogamous pairs, so they don't like harem breed or anything like that. One male, one female will breed together, and often they'll just duck back in the caves and hide out in there until the babies are ready to go. But they do, like I said, they do help take care of each other. The older siblings will help care for the younger fry. As you can see here, you've got parents, an older sibling, younger siblings. A popular rock to use with these guys is the Texas Holy Rock, because it will also buffer your pH, like how this coral piece here does. But it's not necessary. Like I said, I've got some sandstone, that's some shell, got a piece of slate over here. Different types of rocks are all okay. So I suggest starting off with 6 to 12 young Brichardi, about like that size, that guy back there, and let them pair off, because it makes it easier where they form the monogamous bonds. Trying to buy two and say one girl and one boy and you all are going to have babies whether you want to or not is harder than starting them off young and let them finish growing up together, and they kind of fall for one another if you want to go all romantic with it and stuff. So like I said, they'll go back in the cave. The female will stay with the babies. The male will come out and kind of guard, like how the male here is out guarding. And they can lay anywhere between 50 and 150 eggs, and it takes about 3 days after laying them for them to hatch. And then in about a week they become free swimming, and it'll come out like these guys here looking for food. And like I was saying, they can eat flakes, pellets, frozen foods, live baby brine, other live foods, some powdered foods like I'm forgetting the names of them right now, but like your first foods, first bites or whatever, like Aquarium Co-op's, was it small nano feed or whatever. They're good foods for them in the beginning. So the Neolamprologus Brichardi, as you can see, if I can get over here where you can see him without him getting spooked, they've got that typical Tanganyikan cichlid look, and they'll have the, usually like the lyre tail, the flowing fins. There he went. They'll have like whites or silvers along the edges of their fins, little oranges and blues on their body, and They're really neat fish. The males will get around 5 inches or so full grown. The females will be just a little bit under. You can see here as they pair off, they'll kind of hang out together. And all of them in this tank are what you would, you'd think of as like a family. You got brothers and sisters and cousins and nieces and nephews all living together happily. You get a little squabbles every now and then, but it's nothing like you'd get with your Malawi cichlids, like your Mabunas and peacocks and stuff. These guys, the Tanganyikans in general, do a whole lot better, and the Brichardi here, they're not like peaceful like tetras, but they're a whole lot more peaceful than what you would think of with like a typical African cichlid, as you would find them labeled in a pet store or something. But part of the secret to what I do is I do leave the tank more quote-unquote dirty, as I'll leave mulm in there, I'll leave algae on the glass and the rocks, I'll have like the shell debris down here, the sponge filters will be growing things on them, and that gives tiny little foods for the fry to pick at, and then feeding the small foods as well. But as long as you keep clean water, you've got them rock hiding places, little places for them to hide and breed like that, and you don't have them with like aggressive tank mates that are going to like pick them off. Keep them the right temperature and a higher pH, and you'll wind up with babies. Not really much of a secret, is it? Anyways, that's the secrets to breeding the Neolamprologus Brichardi, or the fairy cichlid, or the Burundi cichlid, or the princess. Let's see, I've heard them called princess cichlids and princess of Burundi and different things like that. That's why scientific names are important, because common names, there's so many different names for these guys. Neolamprologus Brichardi out of Lake Tanganyika. If you're enjoying my Secrets to Breeding Fish series, let me know. What species would you like me to look at next? Put it in the comments. Have you bred these guys, and what's your thoughts on them? Until next time, you know what to do. Subscribe for more content. Hit the notification bell, share it out, give the like, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.